of water quality parameter. This video lecture is second in the series. In our first video lecture, we had discussed about the physical water quality parameter. Now, since to function properly, man needs at least 8 glasses of water daily. Water plays an important role in the world economy as it functions as a solvent for a wide variety of chemical substances and facilitate industrial cooling and transportation also. Approximately 70% of fresh water is consumed by agriculture, and India is based on its agricultural product. Different body of water provides livelihood and economic security to different countries. Now, since it is the second video lecture, in first we had already discussed physical water quality parameters. So I will discuss in this video lecture about chemical water quality parameters. Chemical contamination of water sources may be due to certain industrial and agricultural practices or from natural sources also. When toxic chemicals are present in drinking water, there is the potential that they may cause either acute or chronic health effects. Chronic health effects are more common than acute effect because the level of chemicals in drinking water are seldom high enough to cause chronic health effects. In this video lecture, we will discuss about total dissolved solids, alkalinity, hardness, fluorides, organics, nutrients, and all the other material which are of concern for water quality management. So in starting with the first parameter, we will discuss about the total dissolved solids. In physical water quality parameter, we had discussed about the suspended solids. Then also I had told that dissolved solids are those solids which are very smaller in size, such as it will be less than 10 to the power minus 6 mm also. When I will discuss about the source of these dissolved solids, so dissolved solids may be organic or inorganic in nature. Inorganic substance which may be dissolved in water may include minerals, metals, and gases. Generally, water come in contact with these substances in the atmosphere, on the surface, and within the soil mass. Material from decay product of vegetation, from organics, chemicals, and from organic gases are common organic constituent of the water. Now, if we talk about the impact, the dissolved mineral, gases, and organic constituent may produce aesthetically displeasing color, taste, and odor. Chemicals may be toxic and some of them can be carcinogenic also. Now, how to measure them? What is the method of measurement? Now, you can measure it directly or indirectly. In direct measurement, it can be made by evaporating up to dryness a sample of water. Obviously, it has to be filtered so that the suspended solid which are already present in the water can be filtered. After that, if we evaporate them up to dryness, then the rest material which is left in the porcelain cup, it can be weighed and it will represent the total dissolved solid present in the water. But an approximate analysis is also can be made by electrical conductivity method. Now, what is electrical conductivity? It is different than hydraulic conductivity. The ability of water to conduct the electricity is known as electrical conductivity. Some people also say it as a specific conductance. And this specific conductance or electrical conductivity, it is a function of the ionic strength and the solids which are present in the water with some ions. That concentration can be used to measure the total dissolved solids. Now, if you are using the indirect method, that is by using EC meter, that is electrical conductivity meter, or by specific conductance, then the unit which we used to measure the electrical conductivity is micromole per centimeter. Now, the reading which has come from your electrical conductivity meter in micromole per centimeter at 25 degrees centigrade, when you multiply this thing by 0.65, then it will give you the total dissolved solid content in milligram per liter. Actually, electrical conductivity is measured by d-ionic water cluster. These ions usually account for vast majority of the TDS. And even ionic strength of water can also be measured by using Stone-Bridge method, which you have done in class 11th also. So this is the way by which we can measure the total dissolved solid present in the water. Now, if we talk about the unit of total dissolved solid is generally milligram per liter. Now, if we talk about the use, according to the Government of India manual, acceptable limit for TDS is 500. But it has to be rejected when the value of TDS will reach at 2000. Generally, they are used to measure or to analyze water and wastewater. Now the second parameter is alkalinity. What is alkalinity? All of you have already studied about this in previous year classes. Actually, quantity of ions in water that will react to neutralize the hydrogen ion present in the water. Thus, you can say that it is a measure of the ability of water to neutralize the acids. Now, what is the source? The constituent of alkalinity in natural water system includes carbonates, bicarbonates, ammonium hydroxides, etc. These compounds result from the dissolution of mineral substance in the soil and in the atmosphere. Phosphate, which comes from the detergent, it may also help or increase the alkalinity in wastewater discharges. Even from the fertilizers and insecticide from agricultural land, alkalinity can be increased. Hydrogen sulfide and ammonia, which is present as a byproduct of microbial decomposition of organic material, also increases the alkalinity of water. Now, what is the impact? Actually, alkalinity imparts bitter taste to the water. The main objection is the reaction which happens between alkalinity and certain cations which are present in the water. Now, all those reactions, they result in precipitate, and this precipitate can be deposited into the foul pipes and even at any other water system appurtenances. And due to this, the system create the problem. Now, if we talk about the measurement of alkalinity, this alkalinity can be measured by doing some titration methods. But nowadays, by using pH meter also, this alkalinity can be measured. When the pH of water is more than 7, then it is alkaline on hydrogen scale. Generally, the unit which is used to measure the alkalinity is milligram per liter of calcium carbonate. Now, if we talk about the use, what is the use of measuring the alkalinity in the water? Actually, they are included in the analysis of neutral water or natural water, so that we can determine their buffering capacity. It is also used as a process control variable in water and wastewater treatment. Alkalinity give us the idea about, or you can say the characteristic of the wastewater which is coming as an influent. The next parameter is hardness. Now, what is hardness? In short, the concentration of multivalent metallic cations in the solution. At supersaturated condition, the hardness cations will react with the anions in the water to form solid precipitate. Most of the time, it can be classified as carbonate hardness or non-carbonate hardness. The hardness that is equivalent to the alkalinity is termed as carbonate hardness. Remaining all are non-carbonate hardness. Now, what is the source? From where it is coming? Actually, multivalent metallic ions are in abundant in all the natural waters. Most of the time, they are calcium and magnesium. Other materials are also there, such as iron and manganese, but most of the time it is calcium and magnesium. Now, what is the impact? Actually, if the water is hard, the soap consumed by hard water is an economic loss to the water user. So we don't like to be, even in some industry, we have to supply the water up to of zero hardness. In that condition, we have to find out how to remove them and what is the hardness of some specific water. Now, if we talk about the measurement, they are measured by spectrophotometric technique. Now, what is the use? Generally, this hardness test is done on natural water and water which has to be supplied for drinking purposes. If we make a table and if we talk about the values of the hardness, suppose that the value of hardness which you have done is less than 50 milligram per liter as calcium carbonate, then that type of water is known as soft water. If the value of hardness after experimentation is 50 milligram per liter to 150 milligram per liter as calcium carbonate, then that type of water is known as moderately hard water. If the hardness is 150 milligram per liter to 300 milligram per liter as calcium carbonate, then that type of water is known as hard water. If the value is more than 300 milligram per liter as calcium carbonate, then that type of water is known as very hard water. Now I would like to ask one question to you, that suppose that if you had tested the water for alkalinity and for hardness, and for example, the value of alkalinity is equal to hardness, can you tell me what will happen? Or what inference you can find out by this thing? Actually, if alkalinity is equal to hardness, it means that calcium and magnesium salts are present in that water. In the same way, suppose that alkalinity is less than hardness. In that case, it gives us the inference that natural salt of calcium and magnesium are present in that water. And if alkalinity is more than hardness, in that condition, the inference we can do is presence of basic salts of sodium, potassium, along with calcium and magnesium is there. Now, Public Health Department recommends a maximum of 500 milligram per liter of hardness in potable water. But it is only recommendation. We will talk in detail about hardness and alkalinity in subsequent video lectures. Now, the next parameter, which is of utmost importance, is fluoride. Now, what is the source of fluoride? It is found in appreciable quantity in surface water, and it appears in groundwater also in few geographical areas. If we talk about the impact, it is toxic to human and other animals if it is in large quantity, while small quantity is very beneficial. A concentration of 1 milligram per liter in potable water help to prevent dental cavities in the children. Excessive intake result in discoloration of teeth, which is also known as mottling. Now, mottling of teeth happens when the fluoride content in water exceeds 1.5, or you can say 2 milligram per liter. Even some more excessive dose, that is more than 4 milligram per liter or 5 milligram per liter, can result in bone fluorosis. And even skeletal abnormalities can also be there. So the dose, the content of fluoride in water is more important than the presence of fluoride in the water. If we say about the unit is 1 milligram per liter. And as I had told, that up to 1 or 1.5 milligram per liter, till then it is not a problem. But above the 1.5 milligram per liter, the mottling of teeth will started happening. And if it is more than 4 or 5 milligram per liter, then bone fluorosis or some skeletal abnormalities can be happen. The next parameter which we have to discuss in this is metals. Actually, all metals are soluble to some extent in the water, while excessive amount of any metal may present the health hazards. Actually, metals are harmful in small amount when they are toxic in nature. But if they are non-toxic, then in a small amount it is not harmful, sometimes it is beneficial also. Now, if I will talk about the source of the metal, then dissolution from natural deposits and discharge of the domestic, that is household, industrial or agricultural wastewater are the major sources of the metal. Now, if you want to measure it, then it can be done easily by using atomic absorption spectrophotometry. If we talk about the impact, now before going to the impact, we can say that metals can be classified as non-toxic metal and toxic metals. So in starting, I will talk about non-toxic metals. In non-toxic metal, in addition to hardness ion, that is calcium and magnesium, other non-toxic metals are also found in the water, which include sodium, iron, aluminium, copper, zinc, etc., etc., etc. Sodium by far is the most common non-toxic metal found in natural water. Why? Because they are in abundant on the earth crust, and since the sodium is highly reactive element, that is why in all the water, surface water especially, you can find this sodium in the water. Actually, the salt of sodium are soluble in water, and excess amount may cause bitter taste to the water, and they are health hazard to the cardiac and kidney patients. They are corrosive in the nature. That is why if it is in large quantity, they are toxic to human as well as to the plant also. Now you can understand the effect of sodium is so high to the human being. Iron and manganese, they are also non-toxic metals. Generally, they are present together because they occur together. They generally don't pose any health hazard to the human. A concentration of 0.3 milligram per liter of iron and a concentration of 0.05 milligram per liter of manganese does not cause any problem. But they may cause some color problem to the human or to the industrial materials. But the main problem is some bacteria use them as a energy source. So if iron and manganese are present in excessive quantity in the water, it means that bacteria, it can be pathogenic, it can be non-pathogenic, are present in the water. In the same way, copper and zinc, if they are in small quantity, they are not a problem. They can be toxic to some biological species, to some aquatic plants, but they are not a very big problem to human if they are in very less quantity. Now, if I will move towards toxic metal, so they are harmful in small quantity also. They may be dissolved in water, which includes arsenic, barium, cadmium, chromium, lead, mercury, and silver. These metals are concentrated on the food chain, and if they are concentrated on top of the food chain, thereby they pose a problem to any life form. That is why these metals, that they are toxic or non-toxic, has to be taken care of. The next parameter is organics. Actually, they are soluble in water. If broadly we talk about the source of organics, they come from natural sources or may result of human activity. They consist of decay products of organic solids, while synthetic organics, they are result of water and wastewater discharge from domestic, from industry, or from the agricultural practices. Broadly, if we classify these organics, they can be classified as biodegradable organics and non-biodegradable organics. Now, what is biodegradable organics? Those organic which can be utilized as a food by naturally occurring microorganisms within a reasonable length of time, then they are known as biodegradable organics. Most of the time, they consist of starch, fat, protein, alcohols, acids, aldehydes, and ester. If we talk about the source of biodegradable organics, they are the end product of initial microbial decomposition of plant or the animal tissue, or may result from domestic or industrial wastewater discharge. Now, what is the impact of these biodegradable organics? They may cause color, taste, and odor problem. The main problem, which is associated in secondary effect, which is a result of the microorganism when they are working on these substances. If it is done in the aerobic environment, then the end product of microbial decomposition is stable and acceptable. But if it is done in anaerobic environment, then the end product is unacceptable and unstable also. Now we'll talk about the next thing is non-biodegradable organics. Now some organic materials, they are resistant to the biological degradation, such as tannic acid, lignic acid, cellulose, and phenols. All of them are found in natural water. They also they are also constituent of woody plants, which biodegrade very slowly. That is why they are considered as a refractive materials. So the molecules with strong, exceptionally strong bonds, some of polysaccharides, or molecules with ring structure, such as in the case of benzene, they are non-biodegradable. Some of them are known as biodegradable because they are toxic to the microorganism which are eating them. These include organic pesticides, some industrial chemicals, and hydrocarbon products. Even when the hydrocarbon products are combined with the chlorine, then also it is a problem. Now, how to measure them? Actually, non-biodegradable organics can be measured, or I can say that biodegradable organics and a non-biodegradable organics, both of them can be measured by using total organic carbon, that is TOC, theoretical organic carbon, that is THOC, chemical oxygen demand, that is COD, and biochemical oxygen demand, that is BOD. Actually, non-biodegradable organics can be measured by using COD, that is chemical oxygen demand. They can also be estimated from total organic analysis or total organic carbon analysis. Actually, it is another topic, so I am not discussing that BOD, COD, and THOC here, because I am just talking about the parameters which are affecting chemically to the water and wastewater. The next parameter is chloride. As a source, chloride, which is a compound of chlorine with other elements, are present most of the time in natural water, agricultural or irrigation return, and the range of concentration are very wide. Due to the range, the concentration due to range of the chloride is most of the time with sodium, because I had told you that sodium is found in abundant on the earth's crust. So with sodium, it makes sodium chloride, common salt, and to some extent with calcium and magnesium also chloride combined. And they are in the most stable components of the water. Due to this, what is the impact? The presence of chloride in high quality, it itself indicates that there is a pollution of water due to sewage or industrial waste. Most of the river and lake in India have chloride concentration all where at all the places it is never less than 50 milligram per liter. Now, how to measure them? Actually, they are measured by Morse method. There is one another method to detect the chloride content, that is known as agrantometric method. Now, what is the use for this chloride content? Chloride are not at all detrimental to the health, but the problem is the salt intake. That is common salt. If we are taking sodium chloride and we are suffering from heart or kidney problem, then it is a very big problem to that person. Generally, the acceptable limit is 200 milligram per liter. But if in any case the chloride content in the water is more than 1000 milligram per liter, then that water has to be rejected directly. The next parameter is nutrient. Actually, elements required to the growth and reproduction of plants, animals, or human is known as nutrients. As a human being, we can take the nutrient in form of medicine or in any other form. But aquatic species, they are dependent on the surrounding water for their nutrient. A wide variety of material and trace elements can be considered as a nutrient. Some of them are carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, etc., etc., etc. I am taken only these three because these three are the major nutrient product in aquatic condition. Now, the first one, that is carbon. Now, carbon is the major nutrient. It can come in the water from various sources. For example, from atmosphere. Carbon is present in the atmosphere in the form of carbon dioxide, that is CO2, as a gas. Alkalinity. From alkalinity things, we can take the carbon in the water. And decay products of the organic matter. All of them, they supply carbon to the water or to the aquatic system. The next one is nitrogen. The presence of nitrogen in water may occur in one or more of the following reasons. That is, it can be in the form of ammonia, free ammonia. It indicates very first stage of decomposition of organic matter. Most of the time, it should not has to be exceed 0.15 milligram per liter. It can be present as an organic matter, or you say albuminous. It indicates the quantity of nitrogen present in the water before the decomposition of organic matter has started. It should never be exceed 0.3 milligram per liter. Or you can say it can be in the form of nitrite. that is not fully oxidized organic matter in the water. Or nitrate. Nitrate indicates that the water is fully oxidized with the organic matter in the water, and it represents the old pollution. Even nitrite is highly dangerous. We will talk about this later. Before that, actually, nitrogen are constituent of the protein, chlorophyll, and many other biological compounds. Even the sources such as fertilizers or from animal waste, these nitrogen can come to the in contact with the water. Upon the death of plant or animals, complex organic matter is broken down to simple forms by bacterial decomposition. Now, when bacterial decomposition is going on, the proteins are converted to the amino acid, and then the amino acid is reduced to ammonia if oxygen is present, and then ammonia is oxidized to the nitrite. And as I had told you, this nitrite is very dangerous because then it is oxidized to nitrate. And all of you have heard that nitrate poisoning to the infants, that is to the animal or human, can cause serious problem. Even death is there. That is lower acidity in infant intestinal tract. It permits the growth of nitrate reducing bacteria, and that nitrate reducing bacteria convert the nitrate to the nitrite, and when it comes as a nitrite, it is absorbed into the bloodstream. And as all of you know, that nitrite has greater affinity for hemoglobin than oxygen does, so it replaces the oxygen in the blood complex. Then the body denies the essential oxygen, and it results in death or extreme cause of victims suffocation, or you can say oxygen starvation. Due to this, it results in the bluish discoloration of body. That is, nitrate poisoning has been referred as blue baby syndrome, that is methemoglobinemia. So that is why to check this nitrite in the water, we have to use one experiment which is known as Geldal nitrogen, which check the ammonium nitrogen and organic nitrogen combinedly. Now, actually, the nitrate in water is not harmful, but the presence of too much of nitrate has caused this disease. That is why the nitrate concentration in domestic water supply is limited to 45 milligram per liter. Even by doing color matching technique also, you can found the nitrate. That is color which is formed by phenol disulfonic plus potassium hydroxide has to be checked. And as I have told you, we can check the nitrate, that is free ammonia plus organic ammonia, in Geldal ammonia test. The third one is phosphorus. Actually, it is often that the limiting nutrient for plant growth. Phosphorus occurs in nature as a phosphate. In organic phosphate, we refer as a orthophosphate. Now, if we talk about the source of phosphorus, actually it is constituent of soil, and it is used in the fertilizer to replace and or to supplement the natural quantities in the agricultural land. It is also a constituent of animal waste. That is why it is incorporated in the soil through the grazing and feeding area of the animals. They may be insoluble or particulate form, or it can be in the form of uh, constituent of plant or animal tissue. Actually, municipal wastewater is the major source of phosphate in surface water. If we talk about the types of phosphate, then it can be orthophosphate, it can be condensed phosphate, it can be pyrophosphate, it can be metaphosphate, it can be polyphosphate, and it can be organically bound phosphate. Actually, that condensed phosphate is extensively used as a builder in detergents. Even organic phosphate are basic constituent of the body waste and the food residue. Now, what is the impact? Actually, they are not toxic and they don't have any direct threat to human or any organism, but they represent a serious threat to the quality of water. Actually, phosphate always interfere with the water treatment process. Even the concentration as low as 0.2 milligram per liter with the chemical coagulant start doing the turbidity. The basic problem is to measure them. Actually, if you talk about the measurement technique of the phosphate, they are measured colorimetrically. But can be orthophosphate can be measured directly, but condensed phosphate cannot be measured. It has to be converted to orthophosphate by doing acid hydrolyzation. Then only you can measure. Even organic phosphate cannot be measured directly. It has to be converted to orthophosphate by using acid digestion method. That is why phosphate is also a problem. If we talk about the unit, it is measured in milligram per liter of phosphate as phosphorus. Now, care has to be taken when you are taking the sample of water to the lab to check all those things. Then acid washed glass bottle has to be used for sampling the water. However, if you had cleaned the bottle by detergents, then they will contaminate the sample. As a last parameter, I would like to discuss about dissolved gases. They also they are also a chemical parameters. The various gases which may get dissolved in water due to its contact with the atmosphere or the ground. The gases can be nitrogen, it can be methane, it can be hydrogen sulfide, it can be carbon monoxide or oxygen itself. All those gases, they affect less or more in some way to the water. For example, CH4, that is methane, it is explosive in nature and it may cause greenhouse effect and it can mixed with soluble in the water. In the same way, hydrogen sulfide, when hydrogen sulfide is present as a byproduct in water, it produces bad taste and smell to the water. Therefore, it has to be removed during secondary treatment. Carbon dioxide, the presence itself or of carbon dioxide indicates that some biological activity is going on in the water. It means that there is some foreign element in the water. There is a pollution in the water. In the same way, it can impart bad taste and make the water more corrosive. Then oxygen. We all know that oxygen has to be there in the water, because since it is required for respiration of water species, therefore it should never be less than 4 milligram per liter. If the oxygen level is less than the saturation level, it indicates that there is a deficiency of oxygen, which indicates that there is a pollution in the water body. Because if the dissolved oxygen level is less, it means that the BOD level is high, and it shows that there is some pollution, some biological reaction is going on in that part of the water. As a whole, we can say that by understanding the chemical parameters of the water, we can suggest, we can think of proper methods so that we can take care of the quality which has to be supplied either to the user or to the water body. Thank you for your patience listening.